What's up, guys? Today we are going to finish our conversation about shoulders. Last video we talked about the posterior delts, or the back of your shoulder. So now we're going to move forward slightly and we're going to talk about the lateral head of your deltoid, which is that middle bundle on your delts. Like I talked about last video, remember your delts or your deltoids is just one muscle, but is divided into 3 different bundles, each with a different function. Rear delts going to pull your arm backwards. Now your lateral head is going to lift your arm to your side like this. But a lot of people end up having a really difficult time targeting the lateral or the middle head and end up working the anterior delt a lot more. So let's talk about what some of those basic mistakes are. If I'm right here doing a military press, and if you look at my arm position, where it is relative to my body. So if you were to come around to the side of me, look at where my arm position is, where my elbows are pointed. You can see that they're out in front of me. That's working your anterior delts, which is going to help lift your arm in front of you like that. That's why you do front raises to work your anterior delts. So anytime you use a bar, it's really forcing you to get the bar out in front of you. Otherwise, it's not going to clear your face. You're going to hit yourself on top of the head. So that's first thing. If you want to target the middle head of your deltoids, use dumbbells on your presses. So instead of elbows forward, you're going to have your elbows at the side. Now, a lot of people talk about, well, if you put your elbows out at your side, isn't that going to hurt your shoulder? Well, number one, go lighter. You'll be much stronger here in a tighter position. Out here, you're in a little bit weaker position, but that's why you have to be more disciplined with your form and you have to go lighter. So, why is it that everyone has rotator cuff problems? There is a muscle, one of your rotator cuff muscles, called your supraspinatus. And if you look right through this little hole here, that's exactly where this muscle runs. And the origination in or insertion point is going to look pretty much just like this right here. And so as this muscle shortens, as it contracts, it's going to pull your arm up like this. As you can see, there's very little room in there, and if this muscle becomes overdeveloped, what happens is it starts getting pinched inside of here. You get a lot of inflammation, and then it starts rubbing on the inside of here, and that inflammation causes a lot of shoulder pain. So what causes overdevelopment of the supraspinatus as opposed to the lateral head of the deltoid? Well, the supraspinatus helps lift your arm to the side just like the lateral head of your deltoids does. The difference is in that range of motion. The supraspinatus really helps from about here to here. And what's happening when people go too heavy, a lot of times to get that momentum, to get the dumbbells up here, you see a lot of form like this. They're overworking their supraspinatus. Now, besides the supraspinatus, there's another muscle that also helps when you're doing side lateral raises, and that's going to be your traps. And you want to try to eliminate the traps as much as possible. They're always going to be engaged to a degree, but you have to develop that mind-muscle connection to try to be disciplined with your form so you're not overusing your traps. Because if I'm coming up here with heavy weight and I start shrugging it up like this, if you see people shrugging their shoulders when they're doing side lateral raises, that's an indication that you're using too much of your traps. So I want you to keep your shoulders nice and relaxed. So instead of pulling up, I want you to think about pulling out to the side. So I start here where the cable is crossing my body, so I've got resistance starting all the way here. So I've got resistance from here all the way to here, which this would be my starting point with dumbbells. I wouldn't have any resistance until about this point with dumbbells. Whereas with cables, I've got resistance all the way across. And so here I'm going to pull out to the side. Not thinking about up. When I think about up, that's when my arms are going to get bent and I'm going to start using my traps. Also doing it unilaterally, one arm at a time, it makes it more difficult for you to use your traps. So that's why I like to do single arms. You could do this with a crossover, do them at the same time, but there's a greater chance that you're going to engage your trapezius. So I start with a cable, and I like to do a lot of supersets. You guys see this in my routines. I move fast through my routines, so I like to superset. So I'll use dumbbells, but I just use them in the range of motion that they're effective. So if I have no resistance from here to here, I don't even bother using these. Matter of fact, that's where I see people going wrong. They start in the middle, in front of their body, and they use this distance to get momentum to swing it up. I don't want you to use momentum to swing it up. So I want you to start out here, constant tension the whole time. So even here, in my starting position, I feel tension in the lateral head, and I squeeze up and out. Now make sure you keep a straight line. If I were to draw a line from hand, it goes through my shoulder out to my other hand. I'm not too far out in front of me, and I see a lot of people do these. They do their lateral raises that end up looking like this to the front. Anytime my arm's coming in front of me, that's using my anterior delt. We don't want to do that. We want to come to the side. So if you were to see it from the side, here's the wrong way first. That's the wrong way. That's using too much anterior delt. This is the right way. Right out to the side. Don't go too high. If I go too high, I'm going to engage my traps again. Don't want to do that. So nice straight arms. Squeeze until I'm parallel to the floor. Back down to my starting position, constant tension, and squeeze back up. So I'll superset between my cable raises unilaterally, superset with dumbbells, training in that range of motion. So what are some other exercises that you can do, that you can work in? Well, anything that's going to raise your arm out to the side, including an upright row, can work the lateral head of your deltoid. Just like our presses, when I say when you use a bar and you press in front of you, the same thing can happen when you use a bar to do upright rows. Again, I'm out in front of me, and when I pull, you can see where my elbows are pointed. They're pointed in front of me. So I end up engaging a lot of the anterior delts, working some of the lateral, but also the anterior. So I like to use dumbbells or even plates, and then that way I can keep it closer to the body, keep it more out to the side. If I turn again to the side versus in front. Now the other thing is very important is hand position. With a narrower grip, I'm going to engage more of my traps when I'm doing my upright rows. You can see my shoulders shrugging. So in order to use more of your deltoid, you need to go with a wider grip. That's why I like dumbbells. I can adjust the width. I start out here and I pull straight up. And so that's going to really make the lateral head of your deltoid burn. So those are my tips for targeting the lateral head of your deltoid. And then what we're going to do next week is I'm going to take all these ideas and we're going to put them together. I'm going to give you the exercises, the sets, and the reps. I'm going to give you my complete shoulder workout, put it all together with you guys. We'll come out here in the gym and you guys can train with me. So I will see you guys next week.